Oh my gosh. Guess I'm supposed to start out talking softly. I would like to just start by thanking all of you for being here. I guess this is our 11th one. The first one we did, we kind of did it on a whim with no budget, no sponsors, and a little projector on a tabletop screen, and 400 people showed up 11 years ago. And Lucy and I looked at each other and said, gee, we might want to up our game, and it's been great ever since. So I do want to thank the board for believing in this project and our chance to get our message out and giving us the chance to do this. So thank you to the board. And also thank you to the staff. Eamon mentioned, but I do want to mention Grant Menke, our newest staffer, Cassie Riley, doing our comms work. But most importantly today, mention Lucy Norton. Most people to put on an event like this have to hire a firm or have to dedicate a whole department to it. Well, we did too. We dedicated the department of Lucy Norton, and she put together all of the details. So we really should give Lucy a round of applause. You know, we're coming out of a year, 2016, which I think could be described as somewhat crazy and remarkable, and I'm just talking about the renewable fuels market. We had record ethanol production. We had record ethanol use. We had record ethanol exports. We had record biodiesel production, record biodiesel use. We ended with a really great fourth quarter. And now then, as we've switched into 2017, we've had a little bit of a change. We've kind of gone from crazy and remarkable to crazy and uncharted. After all, there is unrest out there. There's unrest in the markets, in our politics, in our policies. The margins have tightened up. And I really think as we look forward, we better tighten our seatbelts. I think the next year is going to be kind of a wild ride. And to do that, I'd like to maybe look backwards a little bit in order to look forwards. So we'll have some slides here, maybe. Oh, I even get a little pointer. So where's Iowa at today? Iowa's got 43 ethanol plants that can produce over 4.1 billion gallons. We actually set a record this year, 4.1 billion gallons of production. We have cellulosic ethanol production as well coming online. We chewed up 1.45 billion bushels of Iowa corn, which is over half of the Iowa corn got first processed in an ethanol plant. But I want to make sure we point out that's not just for ethanol, that's for high protein distillers grains as well. We are feed and fuel, and our critics often forget the and feed part of that. And Iowa did retain its #1 spot. We're about 27% of the U.S. ethanol production, so we're very proud of that. Same good news for biodiesel here in Iowa. 12 plants are out there, could produce, if they were running full out all year, 350 million gallons. We actually have 2 expansions going on, sizable expansions being built this year that should be online by the end of the year. That'll add almost another 50 million gallons. In 2016, 9 plants operated and produced a record 297 million gallons, and that was up from under 250, so it was a huge jump this year in 2016. And with 16% of the production, we are #1 in biodiesel as well. And biodiesel benefits from diverse feedstocks. It gives it some resiliency. Here in Iowa, because of our location, we're a little heavier on soybean oil than I think maybe nationally for biodiesel. About 66% of our feedstock gallons came from biodiesel. Animal fats plays a big role. Increasingly, distillers corn oil spun off the back end of our ethanol plants goes into biodiesel. And then we also had some canola brought in and used cooking oil. So if you think about it, Iowa's biodiesel producers are adding value to farmers, to ranchers, to ethanol plants, and even restaurants. So that's a really great trickle-down effect that we shouldn't take for granted. I also wanted to give you a little sneak peek today. This study is actually not out yet. We're going to release it formally in a few days. So when you get the press release later this week to our friends in the media back there, act surprised. But we do an annual economic impact study, and we just got it in, so we didn't have time to kind of wrap it up with a red bow, but I put the highlights here. The production of ethanol and biodiesel in Iowa adds over $4.7 billion to Iowa's GDP, which is about 4.5%. I mean, that's not chicken feed, as we say in Southwest Iowa. We add $2.3 billion to household incomes. That's primarily farm income, but there's the other aspects all the way into the cities and different services that benefit from the economic activity generated by ethanol. And the production sustains directly and indirectly. It creates and sustains over 42,000 jobs here in Iowa. This is a very important part of our state's economy, and one that if we want our state's economy to grow, and we want our agriculture economy to grow, we need to keep our renewable fuels industry growing. So, you know, as I stand before you today, so that was the look back. Looking forward, as I stand before you today, I can tell you that the state of the Iowa renewable fuels industry is uncertain but unrelenting. We are ready to go. We are ready to produce the fuels that U.S. and world consumers want and are demanding. They're cleaner, they're cheaper, they're better, and we can do this. So, you know, what's going to happen? Is it going to be the uncertainty, or is it going to be the unrelenting progress? I think you're going to see some unrelenting progress in 2017, because I look back over the history of this industry and I think we had cheap oil. Now, I go back to early 2000 in this industry. Some of you predate that, many of you don't. But we had cheap oil for different periods of time in the 80s, the 90s, even in the mid-2000s and recently. And that made it very tough for a young, new industry trying to get going to compete. But we persevered, we kept going, we made it. We were unrelenting. Then they said, oh, you'll never replace MTBE in California and New York. You can't do it. And not only did this industry replace MTBE in those coastal markets, we're now in 97% of all gasoline sold anywhere in the country. They said, oh, E15, the car to blow up cars, and it won't work, and it, it won't help the pumps. And yet we're seeing E15 growth, and more major retailers adopt it. We even had reduced RVOs under the IRFA, the blend levels, from 13, 14, 15, and they thought, boy, that's really going to stymie the industry, but we found a way to keep growing, albeit not as much as we should have, but we found a way to keep putting one foot in front of the other during that time, and we faced export challenges in Europe, in China, and different things. But through it all, this industry has been unrelenting in its drive to add value to Iowa commodities, to provide economic opportunities to rural America, and to provide cheaper and cleaner fuels to American consumers. And so at the end of the day, I think that's what you're going to see going forward. Eamon referenced it. 1 year ago today, stand at this very podium, in front of this backdrop and this little podium sign here. I don't have the same hair. He's got more hair than me. I'm a little jealous about that. But then candidate Donald Trump stood here and pledged to support renewable fuels and the renewable fuel standard. And if you think about it, he's an America First guy. Like him, don't like him, doesn't matter. He's an American First guy. He wants American energy and American jobs. And when he traveled all throughout Iowa during that campaign, he saw pretty quickly that if you want jobs and you want energy in rural America, that means renewable fuels. And so his belief in renewable fuels and the renewable fuel standard, I believe, is very sincere based on the education he got here in Iowa. So in fact, we had a little video that some people put together. I don't know if you can hear it.
Driving down the cost
Supposed to be
of
able
gas
to hear
for
it.
consumers and making America energy secure. The biofuels industry applauds President-elect Trump for recognizing our important contributions.
Family farms are the backbone of this country. We are going to protect the renewable fuel standard.
Thank you, Mr. President-elect, for your leadership. Your support of the RFS will create jobs and bring America closer to true energy independence.
So that was an ad put out after the election by Fuels America consortium group and many of our renewable fuels folks. So that's one reason why I think the renewable fuels family sees unrelenting progress going forward, but there's uncertainty. Why? Well, let's look at Trump's cabinet appointees. We've got Mr. Pruitt there in the middle, who has not been a big fan of the renewable fuel standard, being appointed to the EPA. Under the RFS, he occasionally has to consult when he makes decisions with the Department of Energy. Over on the left, former Governor Rick Perry, who not once but twice asked for a waiver from the RFS, and with the USDA. And we have former Governor Perdue in the top right, who, I want to be clear, has, to my knowledge, no track record of opposing the RFS like the other two, but I also haven't been able to find any track record of him supporting it. And then just in case they're chit-chatting at a cabinet meeting, I decided to throw former CEO of ExxonMobil, Rex Tillerson, down there in the bottom right, in case they might just, hey, Rex, what do you think? So, people are like, well, is it going to be Trump? Is it going to be his appointees? And, I think what happens is you have some people that are saying, don't worry about anything else. Just focus on what Trump said. We're fine. You can just go be happy. Go be as happy as a pink fuzzy unicorn dancing on rainbows. If you don't understand that reference, Google it. You'll be sorry you did. Other people look at the nominations and say, we are up to our armpits in alligators. Now, where's the truth? My guess is, and like most things in life, the truth's probably somewhere in between. But if you're still in this room at 11 o'clock, we've got a panel of experts who will dive deep into this. We see unrelenting progress for 2017 because Iowa now has, and I'm going to announce it today, 99 registered E15 pumps. And we have more on the way. I was really hoping to say 100. We looked hard. I thought about lying, but my staff told me not to. So we have 99 E15 pumps in Iowa. We have well over 200 E85 pumps. Our average blend level for biodiesel and biodiesel blends is 11%. Consumers are choosing these fuels when they're given a chance, and we see this growth continuing in 2017. So that's why we're excited about progress. But there is uncertainty. You know, in the winter months in conventional areas like Iowa, we can sell E15 to all 2001 and newer vehicles. If you drive a 2001 and newer vehicle and you're not buying E15, shame on you, please do. But in the summer, because of some quirky regulations I don't have time to explain, we have to switch to this little label here and restrict it to only FFV use, and we see our E15 sales from retailers go down in the tank. And now, under the Obama administration, they released a rule called the Regs rule that would actually put in place some things that would not allow us in conventional areas today to sell E15 at all. They'd actually make it harder, not easier. Now, will that get reviewed under the Trump administration? I don't know. Again, probably a question I'll ask the 11 o'clock panel. So there's some uncertainty out there. We see the future of unrelenting progress because we've seen major growth in biodiesel, record Iowa production, record U.S. production, record U.S. demand. We're really making good progress with biodiesel. We're also making good progress with other advanced fuels like cellulosic ethanol. In fact, we have, here's a picture of Quad County corn processors. I think to date, probably still the largest producer of cellulosic ethanol in the United States. They're doing it from corn fiber. We have other plants in Iowa today making cellulosic ethanol from corn fiber, and we're reading about new announcements about that. Almost every week I see somebody else has signed an agreement to add corn fiber technology. And we have a panel this afternoon that's going to dive into that. And I really think, is this the next corn oil? Do you guys remember corn oil? I remember when a plant first started trying to pull corn oil off of distillers and people laughed and said it was stupid and it wouldn't work and all this stuff. And then once the technology was proven in about a year or two, boom, everybody had it. So is this going to be the next, corn oil, so to speak? I'd listen to that panel this afternoon and find out. But there's uncertainty because once again, Congress has allowed the biodiesel and cellulosic tax credits to expire. Oils are in permanent law. They go back 103 years. They don't expire. Ours are on again, off again. We also have uncertainty over what the new Trump administration will do with the blend levels for advanced biofuels going forward. So we have uncertainty. I see a lot of progress, the opportunity for unrelenting progress, because I think this could be what you see in the future. Right there, E30. I called it, ultra premium. I don't know, put in a nice fancy word in there. But what if we had high-octane fuels like E30 in high-compression engines? A lot of really smart people in Detroit think that may be the way to solve our fuel efficiency problems. And we've got a panel this morning at about, I think, 9:30 of experts that's going to dig into that. So that would be a really great opportunity for growth if we can make that happen. But there's also other uncertainties out there. China has recently thrown up roadblocks to exports of distillers and ethanol. We have a major market for distillers in Mexico. We were hoping to grow a pretty good market for ethanol there. Are we on the verge of a trade war with Mexico based on what we've read in the paper the last week? I don't know. Those are uncertainties. So at the end of the day, which is it going to be? Is it going to be unrelenting progress, or is it going to be uncertain future? Personally, I think it's going to be unrelenting progress because this industry has never relented in its past. At the end of the day, the oil industry, with all of its power and all of its resources, can fight one hell of a delaying action. But all the oil profits in the world can't change the fact that ethanol is cheaper, ethanol is cleaner, and ethanol is higher octane. And so just as we saw with E10 going nationwide, as we're seeing with E15, as I believe we'll see with E30 in the future, renewable fuels are going to continue to grow and take their rightful place in America's fuel supply. And we must be unrelenting in pursuing that progress because America's farmers are counting on us. We've got a lot of corn sitting out there, folks. People are hurting. And they're looking to us to be a giant sponge that can suck that up. And we also have consumers out there that want cleaner, cheaper products. And we can do that. And so the farmers are counting on us, the consumers are counting on us, and at the end of the day, I do see that we're going to be able to do that because that's our history. We've never given up. We've never relented. And so as I look around this room and I think of the farmers and the consumers who are counting on us, and I just can't help but think that they made the right decision to put their trust in all of you. Because if we don't relent, if we keep pushing forward, we will win. We will continue to build market share for these fuels because there are fuels that consumers want. So thank you very much, and thank you for being here at our summit today.